Other things in the newspaper will cover architectural trends, maybe new subdivisions that have opened up, new housing styles that are coming into the community. So these can be well worth the time and effort that you would put into researching them. Here's census information. This is, again, where the names that you're getting of your property owners are going to come in handy, because you can research them through the census. So any particular 10-year period, you can go and you can find the name of the person that you're looking for, and it will give you information. It'll give you their occupation. It'll give you where they were born. It'll give you who's living in the house with them. So it might talk about the wife and how many children, if any of the children are working, what other sorts of information that can help you flesh out to really find out more about this family. The other nice thing about the census is that it gives you population figures over time, which can really inform you about your community. Like what we'll hopefully be able to get to with Nelsonville is talking about when the town was settled, up to its peak, and then down again once the population started to decline. So it can give you an idea of the trend that was happening here from its settlement to its peak, and then when you can tell in the 20s, population starts to go down, there were no more jobs. So it can really help you flesh out the context in which your property or the specific neighborhood that you're looking at, how it developed. This is census analysis. This is a particularly specific example, but if you can find analysis of census figures, it sort of saves you the legwork of trying to discover what the population was in, say, 1880 to 1890 to 1900. It can also give comparisons between counties if populations have changed, or cities. So this can be really helpful, again, with context. And all of this information, the census information, is at your public library or archives on microfilm. It's also online. If your public library has access to something like Ancestry.com, you can go on and search by keyword. So you can actually search for the name or the city or the town that you're looking for, which is pretty helpful. Saves you a lot of legwork if you have to look at it through microfilm. There's other types of census just beyond that tracks people. So this is a manufacturing census. It was also done the same time that the regular census is done every 10 years. And it will cover types of business, the business name, what types of products that they produced, the amount they produced, what the value of that is. So there's a lot of information here. Say you're looking at a former factory building or a warehouse or some sort of business. So this can be really helpful information. The other aspect is also the agricultural census. So like that 200-acre farm I was talking about that's now 2, maybe you want to know what kind of farm it was. Maybe you want to know what sorts of animals they may have raised, or you just want to understand more about the family or the area. The agricultural census will give you that. So that's another useful piece of information, and these are also should be located in your archives or library. So plat and atlas maps are really helpful for understanding how a community has changed. This will have, you can see here, there's property boundaries. There you can see the street grids. This is a town just north of Columbus called Worthington, and it has a historic green. Well, the area here in Columbus has changed a little bit, so the green, it looks different because the roads have been widened and things have been changed. There's a lot of it that's the same, but there are things that are different. So here's a plat map, which is another useful piece of information that will give you, again, what road networks looked like, or you can see how the size of the property has changed over time, maybe as things were subdivided. This is an extension of that thought. These are subdivision maps and plats, which are really nice if you're looking at a particular subdivision that was a planned community or a designed community. Because you can see that the way things are laid out, like in this example, it's very curved, it's very rolling, there's large lots, so that there was definitely, the architect wanted you to have a certain feel to the area when you live there. It wanted it to be pleasant, not everything mashed close together. And this is another example of where you can compare to what the property looks like today. Like this is a boulevard. It's got a green space in the middle. That's not there anymore today. These are gone, lost out to the automobile. So they had to widen the road for that. So here's just one example of how you can compare the old with the new and what that can tell you. This is just another example of an older map that may be pre-interstate. So there are communities like Akron or Columbus that have interstates running right through them now. Well, they would have looked very different without those, because a lot of houses got demolished, the streets were changed, streets were dead-ended when those were put in. So this can give you a good idea of what the community may have looked like before all of those changes happened. Sanborn fire insurance maps are another resource. Again, another nice resource for street maps. But the valuable piece to these resources is that they were developed for insurance, and they assess fire hazard for buildings. So buildings are color-coded by their construction material. So if there's a building that is now gone, but you wanted to know what it was made of at the time, I think pink is brick, yellow is wood, and blue is stone. So it gives you an idea of kind of what this neighborhood looked like. Was there a lot of brick? Was there a lot of wood? Sort of construction. And it also will give you floor plans. It'll sometimes will even give you dimensions or interior details. It'll talk about what sort of the width of the streets, if there's fire hydrant facilities nearby. These are really nice to use to understand. This is just a legend of for the fire insurance maps, telling you what color corresponds to what. So it's important to know that these are in color, because sometimes when you see them in microfilm, or if you're getting photocopies, they're not going to come out in color unless you get color copies, and they're not labeled. So the color is the label. So just be aware of that if you ever find yourself looking at Sanborn maps in the future. These are more secondary resources. They're talking about overall context. Like this is a population map, so this gives you an idea of what population looked like in Ohio, in this instance in 1920. So you can see there's Columbus and Cleveland, Akron is right there, Cincinnati. So it gives you an idea, and we're right in this area here, how populated the area was at the particular time that you're researching. And this is more manufacturing based. This is actually roofing tile plants that are located in this area of the United States. And you can see Ohio has quite a few, give you an idea of the manufacturing prowess that Ohio had at one time. Historic photos and postcards are great resources because they are a snapshot of perhaps the building or the street that you're looking at. So you can take a copy of it and go and look right at your building or look at a picture of it, and you can see what changes may be there. And you can also note how maybe the streets have changed, or how the landscaping has changed on the street, or the setback. These are all important things to note because they document this change over time, so you can see how different your community might be now as opposed to then. Secondary resource, the Ohio Historic Inventory. This is one of the programs that I work with at my office. And it's basically a statewide inventory of historic resources that have been surveyed in Ohio. It's a 2-page form. It's not a wealth of information, but it does give you an idea of why the property is significant, what it's made of, when it was built, so on and so forth. And we have over 90,000 properties currently in the inventory right now, so we have quite a few. But I think it just scratches the surface of what Ohio really has. The National Register of Historic Places is another program that I also work with at the Preservation Office. It's the federal list of properties in the United States that are deemed worthy of preservation for their significance. It might be local, state, or national significance for a variety of criteria. So they might be significant for a broad pattern in time, like say a train depot talks about the history and transportation in your community. It might be significant because it's associated with an important person in the community or the town. And it could be significant just as a piece of architecture. And it can also be significant for information potential. So say there's an archaeological site that has not been investigated yet, it can be nominated to the National Register if you talk about what sort of information that it could give you.